Second terms. That's what we'll talk about in today's history video. They never work out. They're always terrible. Let's start with a really important but relatively unnoticed factor about this year's election. Barack Obama is the first president in history to win re-election by a smaller margin than that by which he was elected. Everybody else roared into their re-election or were defeated, but nobody else ever won by less than they were elected by in the first place. Think about it. Ronald Reagan won handily in 1980, but it was a wipeout in 84. Bill Clinton got about 43% of the vote in 92, but got almost 50% in 96. Richard Nixon won in a squeaker in 68, a landslide in 72. Presidents who face re-election usually come into it with tremendous momentum, win the re-election handily, and then move on. Even Bush was elected in a squeaker in 2000, but beat Kerry by 3 or 4 points. So this is unusual, and it reflects the weakened condition in which Obama begins his second term. Now, the last successful second term was Theodore Roosevelt. He took office in 1901 when William McKinley was assassinated. He was McKinley's vice president. And in the first 3 years, the last 3 years of McKinley's term, he was very effective and did a good job. But in the second 4 years, he proposed a broad vision of social reform that really became the basis, ultimately, of the Wilson and the FDR agenda, and really was an incredible force for change. That was the last successful one. Wilson's second term, he had a great first term of domestic reforms. The second term was mired in World War I, the League of Nations, and an economic collapse, and the Palmer raids on suspected communists, and all kinds of nonsense like that. FDR's first term was fabulous. He brought the unemployment rate down by half, stabilized the American banking system, averted a catastrophe, initiated Social Security, and some other very important legislation. His second term started with his effort to pack the Supreme Court with extra judges so it would approve his New Deal policies. And that was rejected, even though he had about an 75% majority in both houses of Congress. And he didn't get anything else passed during his whole second term. Good third term, which was World War II, but a terrible second term. Truman's second term was the Korean War, and he left with 29% popularity, with scandal after scandal afflicting his administration. Eisenhower's second term, he had 2 heart attacks and a colon attack and a stroke, and the economy went through a recession, and at the end of his administration, the summit meeting with Russia collapsed over the U-2 spy plane incident. Johnson's second term was Vietnam. And after he began very well with the Civil Rights Act and the Great Society, he was in terrible shape and couldn't even run for re-election. Nixon's second term was Watergate and impeachment and resignation. Reagan's second term was marred by the Iran-Contra scandal, and he left office under a real cloud, and marred also by the 86 tax increases and tax changes that set up the S&L crisis in the future. Bill Clinton's second term was Monica Lewinsky. Need I say more? Bush's second term was marred by the Iraq War and by the high casualties, and led directly to Obama's election. So second terms tend to be disasters. Why? Well, your best staff people leave. Your best cabinet people leave. They serve you in the first term. They help you get reelected. And then they want to leave and make money. So they go on to K Street and they become lobbyists, and you find yourself working with your B team and your C team and your D team, and it's not nearly as good. Also, most presidents have a strong first-term agenda that they usually get passed, and by the second term, they're dining on a meal of leftovers. And voters get bored, they get cranky, they get anxious for a change, and particularly when you limp into a second term, like Obama does, winning it by the skin of your teeth, winning it at 2 in the morning on election day, then there's not a lot of political capital in the bank for you to draw upon, and you face a hostile House of Representatives. And probably in 2014, you're going to see a Republican victory, because the 6th year of an 8-year presidency is always a disaster for the incumbent president. Always. Never been good. Wilson lost Congress then. Hoover lost Congress. Coolidge lost seats. Roosevelt lost a tremendous number of seats. Eisenhower lost the Senate, and so on down the line. So that, I think, also is going to be a factor. So this is going to be a tough second term for Obama. And you know how when he took office the first time, he talked about the mess he inherited? Look at the mess he's inheriting now. Thanks a lot for watching.